Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. Today we have youth baseball talk with my good buddy Mitch Thomas. Mitch, how we doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Always.
Yes, indeed.
Never a dull moment.
We hope not.
At least often.
Well, and that's what we hope. Well, we hope there's no dull moments for our viewers, right? There might be, though. But as always, YBMcast is powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. And we had a fabulous talk with Mr. Penning. They got some great stuff going on. We'll have him back in December, right before the old Christmas break, and seeing what's going on there as we, you think about it, we're talking about December already, right?
I think we're talking about spring already.
Dang!
Trying to find tournaments, and get registered for things. So
it's amazing, isn't it? And for me, it's good because I don't like cold weather at all whatsoever.
I'm the opposite, at least for the time being. Just for about 60 days out of the year, maybe about 90.
Big hunter, right?
Big hunter,
yeah.
Big outdoors guy.
Yeah. If I'm on the golf course, I'm good.
If I'm fishing on the golf course, I'm great. 'Cause I'm terrible as a golfer.
Oh, man. Yeah. I've never been, I don't care for cold weather, so, deer hunting, those things never just appealed to me. I mean, I guess I could go out and shoot something if I needed to, for some food and whatnot, do what I can. But it just never, I just don't like cold weather, man.
It's not
Can't
for
do
everybody.
It. Can't do it.
For everybody.
I know a lot of people do, and it's great. I always love to see the kids, shout out. I always, Lautzenheiser, Coach Lautsy, his son, I forget which one it was. He had, a big old deer. I think it was a buck.
If it had horns, it's a buck.
Yeah, it had horns. But it was small. But it was, there you go, man, pulling the trigger, learning how to do it. It's pretty cool.
Freezer's full, so venison tastes good. That's the thing with like waterfowl season right now is that we use it just like beef.
Yeah.
So we use it in things like tacos, chili. We make these little duck roll-ups and things like that. So I love being outside. I'm fair skinned, so
yeah.
I get sunburned in November. I got sunburned the other day when we was out all day. The sun was shining in our face. I got sun on my face, and I get sunburned in March.
Yeah.
So
I like fishing better. I've done a lot of fishing. I don't do it as much as I used to, but
fishing's mellow for me. That's a peaceful. It's a peaceful thing. The energy behind hunting is very different than sitting on a bank or in a boat. Trying to catch crappie and things like that. It can become peaceful. You just kind of sit and hang out, chat, have a little bit of fun.
Love catching your limit on the old crappie, man.
Yeah, it is. It is fun to catch limits, and plus they taste good. And this is random. Have you ever fried the tails?
No, I haven't.
You know what I'm talking about? So like down south, they'll take a crappie and will cut the tail off, with just a little bit of the meat left, and they'll actually fan those out, bread them, and fry them, and cook them as potato chips.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they do not taste bad.
Wow.
Like they're crunchy.
There you go, folks. Something to try with your crappie today.
You can dip them. You could always dip them.
Wow, that's cool. I never heard of that before.
I mean,
because I love crappie. I think crappie's one of the best fish.
My family's from the South, and we grew up poor, and so we didn't let anything go.
Right.
It was from the the meat back, and my grandpa would fry tails. And we'd make hush puppies and all kinds of get outs, with French fries and stuff. But he would fry the tails because that's what he grew up on.
It's interesting you bring that up. I'm not that kind of my dad and I, we were traveling in Mexico. We were doing some ministry work down there. And we would go into Chiapas down toward the Guatemalan border, and we worked with a lot of the indigenous people that live down there. Well, we're down on this river. We're taking a trip through. We stop at this one particular village and whatnot. It's down there. They eat fish all the time. And this fish, I don't even know what kind of fish it was. It was fantastic. It was unbelievable. It was a whole fish. I ate the whole thing, man, boom. And our the pastor who was working with us, he lived in Toombala down. He's traveling. He looks over at me and he says, "Brian, you gonna finish that?" I'm like, "Finish what? It's gone." He goes, "Oh no!" Man, he sucked the eyeballs out of that thing to lift him. I mean, I was laughing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!"
You don't waste food. I mean, like the first time I ever had crawfish, my grandpa would, suck the brains out, if you will, of the head of the catfish or the catfish, the crawfish, and so I mean, they don't waste food. When you're hungry, you don't waste food.
I just blew it. There you go. That's our outdoor segment for today.
It's outdoors.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's our outdoor
we need to
segment.
Teach the kids youth baseball. We need to teach our youth to hunt.
And everybody. Gosh, how many people playing baseball are huge fishermen, sportsmen that way?
Oh, you see it all the time.
You do.
I mean, one of our favorite guys, and Adam Wainwright as a Cardinal, is a big outdoorsman.
Yeah.
Loves to chase geese out here in Missouri, so he actually comes back up in Missouri and hunts.
Oh, is that right?
Missouri, yep.
Because he's from Georgia, right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, folks. Yeah, I mean, I like being outdoors. I do. I just do different things because I prefer not to be out in the cold. That's just me.
I think San Diego or LA guy or wherever you're from.
Yeah, that's pretty.
LA?
Well, it's the West. I was born in Norwalk in LA County. My dad is originally from Missouri, Lebanon area, but lived in the desert, Chandler, the southern. Yeah, it's warm.
Yeah.
It's warm. Yeah, 2 days football.
No, I'm out.
In Chandler, it was 6 a.m. and then 7 p.m. because you couldn't be out there during the day, or else you would die.
You ever try to fry an egg on the sidewalk or a car or anything when you were?
No, but what we would do is, as kids, because we were stupid, is you took your shoes and socks off in the middle of the day, and who could walk across the asphalt street without running?
That's one way to toughen up your feet.
Yeah. It wasn't good.
That's actually awesome. That's actually awesome.
We did that stuff, man. It was crazy. And you always had the magnifying glass melting the ants. Oh, I'm sorry. I said that out loud.
No, they know that. Kids know that.
Yeah.
They still do that in science.
We did that stuff. All right.
Back to the show.
Let's talk some baseball. Let's talk some baseball. That's it.
It's perfect weather today.
Hey, you know what? This is we're in off-season mode.
I'm in season. I'm in season. I'm so busy right now with training athletes. Right now, I work with PBA, Tribe, and Gas House going on.
Started right now, huh? You're going full blower.
Yeah, it's in season, if you will, for as far as training
goes. It's off season, but it's training season.
Yeah,
it's training season.
This is the busy time of the year. This is where all of our indoor facilities, really make their money. All of us trainers, we really. This is the time. This is the time to work. So if you're a high school kid, trying to get prepared for your high school season, don't wait for, 2 weeks prior to that season to start. Get in with your coaches now and get your arm care in if you're a pitcher. But now's the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It starts late February, I think tryouts are, and just don't be that guy that's going to wait, 2 weeks before the season and go, oh, I'm a little rusty, and then have excuses about, it's been a while since I swung. That's my favorite one. I always ask the kids, I say, can you ride a bike? And they said, if you had to ride a bike today, could you ride a bike? And they go, yeah, of course. So how long has it been since you rode a bike? Like 5, 6, 7 years? I'll ask these like 17, 18-year-old kids. And then they look at me and go, I see what you did there. Because I always get the excuse of it's been 3 weeks since I swung when they mishit baseballs or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, if you can get on a bike and ride it, I'm sure you can get on grab a barrel and swing. It's still the same.
It is. It's got to be, right?
Take a couple hacks, right?
At least one.
Yeah, come on.
Come on, do one.
We'll be all right.
That's what we do around here. you know. And we're going to be talking a little bit, you know, we're going around the state, and there's some clubs here that after our show last week, there were some that reached out to me, and I appreciate that very much. We do. We really appreciate you guys jumping in, getting a hold of us, sending us information, because it makes an impact on, you know, I don't know every club. We talk about some of the clubs that we know and that we've done winter workout tours with and things of that nature. I'll be honest, you know, Mitch sitting here next to me, I still don't know that much about the tribe as far as that is concerned, because we haven't talked about it at that length. We're usually sitting here talking about everybody else, right?
Right, absolutely.
It's true. It's just the reality of it. And, you know, so it's always great, and we appreciate when you guys reach out to us and it, you know, and start giving us information, because I think there's a ton of groups out there, man.
Yeah, and you're starting to see, like, just even reaching out, you're starting to get some of the smaller organizations kind of reaching out versus the prospects and things like that. You're getting smaller groups that may only have, less than, say, 12 teams or something in an entire range of age groups. So
yeah,
these are some that, they even looking at that I don't know much about. And so you might see a team, but you didn't realize, oh, that's a club team. I mean, they have several.
Right.
And just because I see them in a certain age group, or maybe there's a certain sanction that they play. So,
and one that's been around, we're going to talk about a few of them that are around here locally that you might not have heard of before, don't know that much about. But Dave Matz has the Grind Baseball Club, and I saw believe it was a 14U team, yeah, at Ballparks of America this fall. They looked really good.
Yeah,
solid team.
From what I understand, I know that they have a couple of really nice teams in some of their age groups from just seeing them in different tournaments and how they produce. And
that to me is a huge situation there where you're dealing with, and if you look at Intro to Travel program, they have 8U, 9U, 10U, 11U, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And that was just on the tryouts. I don't see much on their page here as far as what teams they have, which is fine. They got their facility information here, and talk a little bit about what they are. They have the About Us on there, and I've seen Dave out and about with his teams for, I think it was originally it was like the White Sox or something of that. Was it Black Sox or something like that, right?
They were the Sox. I can't remember the original name that they had. They were still black and gold.
Right.
So they kept those same colors when they changed it to the Grind. I know this. I thought they were the something Sox, but I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah,
it's been. I guess they've been around now with the Grind's name for about 4 seasons, maybe.
Something like that, maybe 5.
Is the 4th season. I have a friend who's in that program, and then obviously, we had Dave's son played at Timberland, so I have some familiarity with the Grind, knowing Dave, and then and their facility is located right next to St. Dominic.
Gotcha.
Their new facility.
See, I did not know that.
Yep, right next to St. Dominic.
Because they were originally over there in that one facility, that old building that was
next to
Strel.
Yeah,
next to Strel.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's where, isn't that where Garion
and the Mariners
are now?
Yep.
Yeah. See, it's amazing how things shift and move and.
Absolutely. We had some guys in there years ago that started working out at the hitting zone that have moved on and have created smaller organizations and got batting cages that you don't see online, because it's somebody's barn that put up 4 cages, or it's a metal building that they put up 4 to 6 cages in a space. They don't rent it to public. It's just geared towards them. So you don't necessarily see that kind of stuff there, but. That's what people chase. Sometimes it can be expensive to rent cages. Cage time is not cheap. So sometimes you make that decision to open up your own doors.
That's it, man. And I think again, this is why we talk about there's so much going on in youth baseball, especially in this area. We haven't even touched over there, but you look at today, we're talking about, we have the grind. Then there's also the Missouri Redhawks, the Midwest Futures, Midwest Rebels, and a new one, MaxRep Bats, were the River Bats. They dropped the river recently. This is what I've had some communication. They reached out. We've followed each other, and so it's been an interesting conversation, getting to know some of these things. We're looking forward to Midwest Futures. We should be out there with a winter workout tour stop this coming up in January. Same we're looking at with the Midwest Rebels. We got a lot of people wanting to do this. I like doing the winter workout tour. It just, we have to be careful not to get too many. How many? Because we have a short amount of space to shoot everything in, edit, get it out before the season begins. So
yeah, and there's change. I mean, there's always change happening every year. You're starting to see teams merge. You're starting to see national groups come in. It'll be an interesting next couple of years for the youth baseball scene on what happens in this area and how we compete with getting athletes to organizations. And I'm part of that, right? I'm part of hosting tryouts against all of these people that that are out there. And so one of the things that I like about the winter tours is I'm sure that there's conversations that get to as somebody that might be interested in that program. They get to see what their program is about.
Right.
They get to see where they train. They get to have that information. So go check out the other winter tours that you've done so far if you're in a different area, because you've in the Springfield area and then up in here, you can obviously see what they're offering. Yeah,
because we're fortunate. We've been down with Marucci Midwest, with the Midwest Mavericks down there. We're trying to get some more. I'd like to go down with 417 group because they were originally with the Marucci group, mm-hmm. and they went back. They've separated. And I think that's good. I like this here. People go, oh, man, there's clubs everywhere. Okay, fantastic. And I think this goes to it. You're looking at Missouri Redhawks, Grind Baseball here, MaxRep Bats, Midwest Futures, Midwest Rebels. As we look at these, you have one that's over in Newtown, St. Charles. You have, I think the Missouri Riverhawks are in O'Fallon, I believe, over in that area. Grind is going to be in the same, similar space. Midwest Futures, similar space, all O'Fallon. And I believe the Midwest Rebels are up in Troy, in that area, Moscow Mills.
Yeah, Moscow Mills. I think they're the old Schaefer brothers, Aces, in that area. I know that there's a Tri-County place that's up there.
Yeah, they're not there.
And so I think that same exit that you get off at to go to Tri-County, I believe there's a small batting cage over there that used to be the Schaefer brothers place.
Yeah, because they have Impact Training and Rebel Field. I'm not quite sure where that's at, though. I know they have their own facility, but I don't think it's the Tri-County one. I think you're right.
I thought there was a partnership that happened there because
mm-hmm.
I think for a short period of time they were over off Interstate Drive in Wentzville.
Yeah,
and then I think they migrated out to that space.
Yes,
I think.
And so. I think it's interesting that they did that because I think the impact of moving up into that Ellsbury Bowling Green area, you take away that extra 30 miles mm-hmm. from Troy to here. 25. Okay.
Well, it's 15 miles from this location, but like from the interchange of like 40 and 70, it's only about 15 miles
right.
to Troy, but you're talking around Ontroy Drive. But you're correct though. You have kids coming down from Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
You have kids that are coming from, Palmyra or Louisiana and all those. And baseball is what I'm learning about this is it's a destination thing.
Yeah.
And so you have an opportunity for kids to train. I'm in Mexico, Missouri a lot, and there are some really good athletes in Mexico, Missouri, both baseball and softball. I can't find a batting cage in Mexico, Missouri.
Really?
So people are traveling to either Columbia or
mm-hmm.
Some other Lake of the Ozarks, or not Lake of the Ozarks, but Jefferson City area, to maybe chase some of these coaches, or they're in the back of a barn. And there's a lot of land up there, so there could be a barn that someone's doing the coaching and instruction. I'm sure somebody in Mexico is doing that, but there's not a batting.
Don't
cage
know
there.
who though, right?
Yeah, there's not a batting cage.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty strategic that they moved into that area, because I do think that made an impact there, because we're all, as we show, very concentrated in this particular area, and that's fine. And this is why I always say about these things, there's a place for you to play. But then you have to understand, and this is why I say to parents, always talking about vet the group. What's their goals? Where are they at? What kind of – there's nothing wrong with AA baseball as long as you're getting the development you need, and go somewhere, play, enjoy, have fun. If you're having a good time, if you're enjoying the group and you're getting what you need out of it, if you're growing as an athlete – I don't think there's anything wrong playing in those respects. We always think that we have to go to a prospects team or the St. Louis Prospects or the Gamers or whatnot. Hey, that's fine, and they have their place. I'm not bagging on any of them. I just think we talked about this. The free agency market or the portal. I think it was Dave Wiggins, didn't he say?
Yeah, the transfer portal.
We got the transfer portal in club ball.
Yep.
And I think maybe as parents, you have these groups, talk to the coaches. What are they doing? How are they helping you develop? Stay in a place, find some consistency, I think, right?
Yeah, it's what the culture is for me, especially when we get into that 14U age group, and it's always interesting on how we go about the recruiting side of things, the showcase side of things, and I this is something I still need help on understanding on why there's such a big push that like high school sports are irrelevant. And it's always about the showcases or these events for these high school kids. Everything's about team in college moving forward, right? So it's about team in college. It's about team in professional baseball. And for some odd reason, like the team aspect of high school gets thrown away. Like it's got to individually showcase your athletes. Well, when they go to these teams settings, they don't know how to adapt to culture, and change. And so for me, like if I had to take my athlete somewhere and then I knew that he had a chance to play college baseball, I want a team setting. I want a team culture first. The individual player can do whatever they want on their time. If they want to go spend a week down in Florida and play in a showcase, go, because you're that kind of kid. Just go. That's why I have a deeper roster. Go. Do what you got to do.
And that's okay. There's a place for that.
100%. And if you're that level of kid, then do that. Just be a guy that is going out there. And I understand that piece, but there comes with a consequence. And you have got to understand how to be a team guy. It might be fun to travel all over and you get to experience and you get to have a little bit of fun, but what is it like to have culture? Because that's what happens in college. You build cultures. I mean, you do everything from volunteer work, and are you going to be that guy that's willing to volunteer at a food bank, at a shelter, something of that nature. Those things happen in college, especially big universities.
And if you're playing at that level, and I think this is interesting because as you bring that up, you're walking from the clubs, but then you're this athlete. Maybe you've got that Power 5 opportunity and scholarship or offer, and you go and play with a team that is traveling more or one of those scout teams and that one, but you're playing with guys that are going to the same place you are. And a lot of times those teams are pulling guys that are doing that. You have 4 or 5 guys that you probably going to school with.
Yeah.
And you're going and playing with those things. So I think those things work. But the percentage of that is small. Very small.
We already talked about the less than 1%,
right?
And it's been that way. I can remember being told as a kid, you have a 1 in a million shot to get a chance to play professional sports.
Yeah.
For all the reasons, because you quit, injuries, the list goes on, right? I didn't realize until I started coaching the impact that you really see when you're talking about 400-something thousand athletes and only 40,000 play college baseball. And I'm just saying college baseball, not even Division I, let alone the other levels of play. And so what are we doing? You have to have culture at this age. You have to build that. And so find the coaches that are willing to coach your athlete, even if it's tough, even if that means you have to sit a little bit more. But if you are growing, like you said before, this is why I'm getting back to this. If you grow, don't leave. Don't leave just because your athlete did not get the playing time that you thought they deserved. If they had fun and if they learned and they made an impact on that team, because you'll never know when that impact's made. I had kids that had 20 at bats last year that at times I needed I got them in if there was even in close games that put trust in them. They come up with a big hit, or if they were practicing really well, I gave them the playing time they needed that they deserved, and they came out and they produced. After being told that they weren't good enough, and I didn't say that, but obviously not being on the roster every day for bracket, these kids obviously know where they stand, especially at the 14U age group.
Yeah, exactly.
But make a decision. If you want to play more, go do that.
Right.
But if you want to learn and you're in a good place, don't change just because of playing time issues.
And that's why I look at these clubs, that are lesser known that we're talking about. Now, the Midwest Futures, they're not maybe lesser known. They may be a little lesser known, but they have some pretty good impact. They've got some kids that are making an impact, that are really highly talented. That's in their high school side of that program. I don't know what they do much on the youth side. I haven't looked at that.
I think they added maybe a couple of teams this year on the youth side.
But they've always kind of been focused on the high school side, right?
Well, at least in the last few years, because I have some kids at Timberland that played for them.
Mm-hmm.
I competed against them at the 14U age group. I think they have a 17U team as well, or a junior team, maybe 16, maybe it's 16s. And I know that some of the kids on there, then they're typically pretty good team, and they're still growing. I mean, they're still trying to grow their program, and that has to do with the recycling of athletes. I mean, that's what we do. If you want to if you have a facility, you want to stay in business, you're going to have to recycle your youth.
And here's the thing: youth program.
That sounded terrible to say recycle, but when you graduate a team, you need to have somebody there to take their spot for the next potential 8-9 years.
You have so many, you have a lot of different groups like this one here, MaxRep Bats. They were the Missouri River Bats for quite some time. They've kind of rebranded themselves. They took away the River Bats. Now they're AA squads. I like it. They're advertising, they need some, their tryouts, AA red, 11U, 12U. And I think this is the key to things. And if you're playing at a AA level, all right, you're having success, you're playing well, and you can be consistent, staying in a club, learning, growing. If you're getting, as we talked about, you're getting the instruction, you're getting those things, go make your high school team. Go make your high school team, see where it goes from there, because there's plenty of programs out there. I mean, we have Kevin Mulder on our Prep Baseball Talk all the time. You can go to one of their events, see where you stack up at that point at 14U, or not even 14, but at 15U, going into your freshman year. Where do you stack up statistically, within the bubble in your class? And that'll give you a range of things to work on. Then what do I do? Where do I go from here? Making decisions. I think we ought to, and we've said this on the show before, and this is where I think some of these smaller programs, I don't know all about them, but go and be part of those things. Just because it says AA doesn't mean they're bad. Is it maybe a higher level of baseball in AAA? Yeah, because it should be. That's the point of it. But I don't, and I've told you this before, I think we ought to stop labeling the AAA. Let the kids go play 8 to 11U, maybe even 12U. Just open tournaments and let the tournament dictate who plays where, and then go into a bracket and finish it out.
I understand some of the complaints maybe coaches would have, even parents, when you talk about leaving it open and you run into, let's say, Cranor Wetter's clutch team. Walking into that game that it might get
Real ugly, real fast.
Ugly, and you're only playing 3 innings of baseball. So I understand kind of why we do this, but when we label these teams and label the athletes, because I think that's what we're doing, where everybody thinks that I have a AA kid and all of a sudden their kid is bad. But let's talk about what the majority is AA kids. I mean, even at some of these top level programs, you might only have 4 or 5 kids that are really, really, really talented that are going to play mid-major D1s, in the high school level. It's, again, a small percentage. How many 14U teams do we have last year? 100 and something? How many of them are not playing high school baseball because they didn't make the team? It's the same thing as college, right? Just at a lesser level. And so don't chase, I agree with this, don't chase the label. AA, or, between AA and AAA.
Right.
I've watched a kid succeed in AA, tell his coach, hey, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm a AA or a AAA player. He goes, and this is at like 11U age group. They go play AAA. Guess what happens? They're offers.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're a very good AA player. And there's nothing wrong with that. But imagine staying together with that group for another couple years.
Keep learning. Keep growing.
And watch what happens to the team overall, because you will have to change, because you will start beating everybody in a AA level. And it's the culture, right? So if you can keep 9 out of your 12 kids on for 4 or 5 years, growth is going to be huge.
And then if you're talking about that as a team, your coach then will challenge you. Let's go play a AAA tournament. You don't have to be a AAA team to go play a AAA tournament.
Nope.
Go play it. See where you're at and have the coach challenge. And the other thing you brought up, Cranowetter, I think is interesting as well, is you watch Josh, though. When he'll come in local, he'll go up. He won't play his age level.
And recently he's been playing up at the AAA level.
And it's interesting. He was doing AA and doing well. He would lose some, and that means he's challenging his kids. So you have coaches that are actually get it in that way. Hey, I don't need to go down there and just trophy hunt. Let's continue to challenge the kids. This is what it should be. How are we dealing with the team? What is our team? And developing these kids, the development of them as allowing them to succeed at the level they can until they grow more. You're going to find out. And by 14U, you're going to know who the top athletes are. It's just a fact.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times you'll see that early on, but then a lot of times maybe some of those kids just don't want to play, and they just play and they're good and they just go do what they do.
14U is the start of the separation.
I agree.
And for many reasons, whether it's kids want to focus on a certain sport they might be better at than baseball, and they want to play baseball, but they will go play in a local recreational league or maybe with a team that has lesser tournaments, events, whatever. Change starts to happen at 14U, and especially once you get into high school, there's a lot of kids that quit. And I don't know if it's cost, because the cost of tournaments in the high school age group, the training that might be involved, it gets more expensive as you get older, and so I don't know if that's part of the decline in the athletes at these levels, but it's hard. It is extremely hard to play this game the right way. Find a coach that believes in developing and training your athlete mentally, physically. Don't chase a label. Find the coach that works. I'll say that. Sitting down in this chair and being a part of this over the last year, I've been able to meet guys that I didn't know about, and I was shocked to see so many people have like-minded ideas.
Yeah. And here's the other. We'll finish up the conversation this way. You know it as well as I do. You're in the high school scene and whatnot. I think we've gotten away from and chasing certain things in the idea of college, the idea of, the program that you're in is going to get my kid to college. And all of a sudden we have skipped over playing high school baseball completely, and we're already in a D1 college, and we're 9. These kids, man, they're all D1s. They're 9. No, they're not. it's funny because
and it happens.
It is.
As much as people might be laughing on the other end of the screen, that I cannot tell you how many 10-year-old parents will look at a kid and go, he is going to play college baseball at Mizzou. You know, if that's where they went. He'll play college baseball at Louisville. You know, he'll go. He's a Vandy kid because he throws gas at 38 feet. You know, and so, man, pump the brakes, please, or go get a new set of them. It baffles me on unrealistic expectations that we as adults put on young athletes.
Yes. And I think that's why you see the transfer portal like it is. And you have these programs.
That's way too much control.
You know, I mean,
Parents.
and you know what? If parents are going to do what they do, I ain't mad at anybody. That's the thing. I ain't. It's your kid. You do. We're just trying to look at the situation and kind of talk about these things and have the conversation. Because Kevin Mulder, when we talk, I think, you know, you're like, here's a man that's coached at the Division I level. He's been at Jeffco. He's been a lot of different places. Coaching career. He's
successful.
Successful.
Well.
Director of scouting here for PBR, and he talks about it. He said there's not a high school player that can play at the college level. He goes, that doesn't mean they don't have the talent to. He says, but they can't yet. He said that's why it's called boys high school baseball and men's college baseball. And when he said that the first time, and he'll say it every now and again, I just went, oh yeah, duh.
Shocking.
I was like, oh my gosh. It's the truth, though, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, just talk about physical attributes of the sport in general and how much you will grow, you know, between 18 and 19 years old. And I graduated at 17 years old, and I felt immature. And when I got through my first year of college baseball, that's when I felt like I became a man because I was playing at 18 and 19-year-olds. But I was playing 22-year-old men that were or adults that were physically dominating. Right, and just the way their appearance and everything, and their strength and how they developed over those years because of the nutrition that you get at the college level, especially if you're playing at this high level. You know, some of the D3s don't have the ability to do what others do, but there's nutrition that's involved. There is mental toughness. I mean, the game of baseball in college is so different than anything that anybody out there, if they haven't experienced college baseball or coached it, played it, they have no clue.
And you got plenty. You could go watch Maryville, Missouri Baptist, UMSL, Lindenwood now, Division I, SLU. You got 2 Division I programs that you can go watch. You got 2 Division II, an NAIA school, and then Jeffco and St. Louis Community College. There is a plethora of baseball to watch.
And most
at that level,
yeah, especially being in St. Charles County, you're what, an hour and 10 minutes from Columbia. You're an hour away from going to Edwardsville and SIUE or SIUC.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about within a 2-hour drive of your town that you live in. I guarantee you can find enough college baseball. And if you just go watch the differences. Watch how they warm up. Watch how they prepare. Look at the difference in the size of the athlete. You got a guy that's 5'8", that's an outfielder. I bet he's not 5'8" and scrawny. You know what I mean? He might be if he's traveling in from a small junior college that's in a small town in the middle of the state, you know. But at the end of the day, like, come on, man. There's some athletes out there, and you look at the guys who are signing right now as seniors, and you look at like the Sissels, the Norfleets, the guys that we have at Timberland. These dudes are physically gifted already.
Yes,
and
they are physically gifted, but that doesn't mean they don't stop working, preparing, continuing to grow at their, and that's a different level up here. Where do you stack and where do you understand, okay, what level am I playing at and how do we understand what level we're playing at? It's a whole different world, and when you go and look and watch some of these things, it gives you perspective. And that's one of the things we talk about here is getting perspective on things, understanding where we're at. Let's develop, how about, and our first focus, and this is what we talk about with youth baseball, should be, how am I going to make my high school freshman baseball team? Because if
not varsity,
freshman,
not JV,
freshman, make your freshman team. Because when you're going to some of these bigger schools in the GA, especially the GAC South, okay, or any of these other 6A schools, we were looking at it last week, the Metro Collegiate League, okay? I think it was 2 of those schools. There's only 5. It's Chaminade, CBC, DeSmet, SLU, and Vianney. I think 3 out of the 5 schools have 4 teams.
With the levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have 2 freshman teams at JV and so they want those guys to play. But you touching a varsity squad as a freshman in some of these 6A schools, you're that.
Go watch Leo play or
Leo Humbert
play, and if you got that kind of skill set, he was a freshman last year, right?
Yes, he was.
Go watch that young man play, and if you think that your son is as good as that young man is, then you might have a shot at varsity baseball. But if that's
a shot, that just depends on who's in front of you.
I don't know about that, Leo. I mean, he can break. So at the end of the day, I hate to use that. Hate's a strong word, but I dislike using comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are wanting something and you need to look at that guy and say, if that kid is playing at the varsity level as a freshman at Howe, and I want my son to play varsity, I want to go have a conversation with that kid and say, what did you do to be able to get to this point?
Yeah.
Was he working out at 14 years old? Was he hitting every single day?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have D1 aspirations for these kids as parents, but they have recreational work ethics. That ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
You can't hit once a week for 30 minutes and go, I'm a stud.
Right.
You have got to practice. And my own, I see this every day because, like I said, PBA Gas House Tribe's in there. The kids who work every day, who I see using their memberships and coming in, they consistently get better.
Right.
And they did not come to you as great athletes. They came as recreational players that continue to work hard and continue to get better. And they have a shot.
And I think that's a great thought process. A team comes in, they've been playing, some league ball, recreation, whatnot, and they start to develop work, and at 14, they're AA playing and they're winning. They're and they go and they make their high school teams. How much better is that? What there you go. And then allow that player to continue to grow, because you don't know. And I think if we can take this thought process, it creates a whole better. I'd love to see, these Redhawks, the Rebels, the Grind, the MaxRep Bats. Who else did we have on here? I'm missing one. The Futures out, and I don't think they have as many younger teams, but you're out at a game 7, that 14U. We're doing the championship games. It was a lot of fun. We saw some really good baseball.
At the AA level. I mean, again, watching I feel like for whatever reason, Basta's Gas House team is always something that's going to, for me, it felt like a little bit of a rival last year, even though we only played them a few times and they beat the sleeves off us. But that team, to me, was a really, really good AA team.
Yes.
What they got this year, man, they're really good.
And
Seddon took that team over this year for that 15U age group. They got better.
Very good.
They got better.
See, there you go.
Getting somebody maybe from another team that saw them and says, that's a team I want to be a part of because of how they developed over the last 3 years as a team. That's the same thing I want for my group. And that's the same thing I'm chasing. I wanted to make an impact, and we did. We got better. And we got better by getting teams that said, hey, I want that coach. I want that style. I want that development. I want that push. And this is for the high school side of things. So when my guys leave me in February and go try out, I'm going to be a nervous wreck. Not only my own tryout that I have to worry about with Timberland baseball, but all of these kids. I got 14 kids that believe in me and trust me to get them to the next step. I really hope I don't fail them.
Yeah.
So I'm working extremely hard to try to develop these kids the best way I can. And a lot of it comes with what's between the ears.
And you want them to make that freshman team. If you had all 14 of those kids make their freshman squad, That's where
my ego is feeling good. Yeah, and I know that some of the boys will make different squads because they don't even have freshman levels, because I do have some small town kids, and probably 4 of the kids will play varsity baseball just because of the sheer numbers, and
Size
they don't
of
do
schools.
cuts. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
And that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and we're not talking about that.
No.
But I have several kids in the GAC South, and so I'm nervous because I know what is there, and I know that they can play, but it's a lot.
It is, man. It's a tough ask. You got 50 kids coming out as a freshman, 30 kids coming out.
35
As a freshman,
easy.
You got
Well, we've talked about having 2 freshman groups because there's kids that develop at different times.
That's true. And that's
you
not always a bad idea either.
You have 14-year-olds that are still freshmen in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because of birth dates and things like that, or maybe they just turned 15 or whatever, but you still have immature athletes, and I'm not talking mentality, I'm physically, that you can see growth in, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to keep that kid. It's the freshman level. You don't want to keep 20 kids on the roster.
And I'll be extremely honest at this point with this thought process. My wife and I, when we moved to the St. Louis area in 2003, my son was just going into kindergarten. Well, Justin didn't have any trouble, mentally prepared. My wife, he was 5. We put him into school. Well, he was a year younger than everybody he went to school with, especially for the most part. I mean, maybe a few kids here and there, but it didn't dawn on me. And when he got to high school, though, and started playing ball and whatnot, that year
is huge.
Physical development. It wasn't here. Justin was a 4.0, so academically it wasn't a problem. And maturity level that way wasn't a problem. It was the physical maturity level just playing sports was different. And that if you're going to play sports and whatnot, that's something to think about.
You're a little bit more fragile at that age group with the expectations of practicing 5-6 days a week. If you're a football kid and you're 14 years old and undersized,
yes,
you take a beating.
Yes.
But boy, does that year make a difference. And it happens every year through high school. And about the time you're 19, everything starts to kind of even out. That's why 20-year-olds can compete with seniors. Sophomores in college are doing just fine with the seniors in college. The next gap is the 25 versus the 22-year-old. That's another change, right?
Yes.
And so that's what you see in the big league baseball, or some of these young kids developing. The difference between Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker, for all those Cardinals fans out there that are wondering, what we're going to do this off season.
Mason Wynn, he's a stud.
Yeah, he's 20, but he is not the size of Jordan Walker at 20.
No.
Jordan Walker is a grown man. I mean, the dude is massive, right? So he can come in and swing it right away. I feel like Mason Wynn still needs a year or two to physically prepare for a Major League Baseball season.
And those guys were in that Arizona Fall League All-Star game.
Man,
they look good.
I don't want them to trade Mason Wynn. I have this feeling if they go out and sign a shortstop, Mason Wynn's gone. Because I don't think they'll push him to center field unless they sign to Xander Bogaerts and move him to second base, and then Mason Wynn can play short. But we need a leadoff hitter for the Birds.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, you're in trouble as a Dodgers fan, by the way. You're losing a lot this year. But you'll replace. You got the money. It's L.A. It's Hollywood.
It's called cash.
Yeah, it's called cash. I don't have it.
Cash money.
I got a debit card and 1 credit card. We're good.
Fellas.
I might be able to buy a game ticket.
That's always the case, though. Cash money.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're going to spend.
But but the other part of that, you still have to think who wants to come play there. I think there's more people that would come play in St. Louis than in L.A.
Yes.
Just because of the culture and the fans and the things.
The town
and you
itself.
see that. And, besides maybe Jack Flaherty, and ought to let him go anyway. Guy's a nut job. I said that. Yes, I did.
I'm tagging Jack.
Go ahead.
Give us some heat. That there's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing? Jack I believe in him as a pitcher.
Oh, yeah, he's got
Sometimes
talent. He's got the talent.
He just needs to stay healthy.
Yeah. But he wants to go elsewhere, so let him go.
Yeah, let him go.
That's why try?
Send him.
Send him.
I think one of the coolest things the Cardinals ever did with Piscotti was send him home to be home with his mom. As much as I loved watching him play baseball, I always thought he would be a good Cardinal. At the time, it was right. I think those things happen in baseball, and it doesn't happen all the time, but
that's a people decision.
Yeah.
That's people decision. And I think it's the right thing.
Dude.
Exactly.
Flaherty can go to the Marlins again.
To that point right here, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about people decisions. What's best? Do you like the people you're around? Why go searching? If the people you feel comfortable with, it's good. They're growing. They're learning. They're helping develop. Think about the high school. These are good clubs, man, we're talking about. And we're going to keep marching around talking about different clubs and bringing up the names because I think it's great. The Midwest Rebels out in Troy, Midwest Futures in O'Fallon, MaxRep Bats, Newtown, St. Charles, Grind Baseball, O'Fallon, Missouri Redhawks, O'Fallon. I mean, just in that proximity, man, there's good, solid clubs. They've been there. I think the Midwest Rebels is the newest one, right?
No, I'm not sure.
I believe so. I don't think they've been 4 maybe years.
I feel like they've been around a lot longer than that.
Maybe
I've been a smaller club, for a while before they got their own facilities and things like that. But I don't think that they have. I think they've been around 6, 7 years. I feel. Has
it been 6, 7? It might be.
I feel like that. I could be completely wrong. But that's kind of what I saw when my son was playing. I felt when he was younger, he was playing teams, the green and white Rebels.
And what's cool though is I think they got a killer. I like the Bandit. I think it's a killer logo.
It's a good logo.
It's got a good logo. The MaxRep Bats, it's pretty gruesome. That's a good logo. I think the Riverhawks have. I like Grinds. I like Midwest Futures. They all have good logos too.
And again, all of these teams are within minutes from each other. I don't think that we compete at all necessarily with where the surroundings of the cages are because everything is a destination anyways, right? We have the Gators right down the street. We have the Grind right down the street. We have Rebels right kind of down the street.
And I think, with you got like you said, Gas House in your, PB. And some of these AA, you're in the tournaments, it creates some, and if y'all are going to meet, and it creates that almost league atmosphere and those rivalries that you can build. And I think that's cool. I don't think there's anything wrong with those. Building some of those rivalries that, hey, we want to go out. The Midwest Futures got us last time. Hey, the Riverhawks beat us this last time. Hey, Grind, we're going to get you guys. And having some of those rivalries and competing at that level, learning what it is as team and those, because as you said, it goes into high school and college in the same fashion.
Yeah, what do you want to do when you lose? You want to go out and beat them, right? And all of a sudden it creates that. And I know Coach Horn from coaching his kids and then a long time at
Donnie
the Zone.
Horn at Futures, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so he has a team the same age group, and he went out and beat us the first time out, and I wanted to beat him the second time out. Not because I don't like Donnie Horn. I love the guy. He's been. I've known him for a while now, and
yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, I coached his kids with catching a long time ago before his oldest went to St. Charles.
Thank you, Siri.
Yeah, it's a perfect timing. I was like, why is she even listening, anyways? But it was a little rivalry for Gas House. It was because our two teams had practiced at the same time.
Yeah.
And both teams would look over at each other and watch guys throwing. And I think that's why the rivalry was built for me. I don't know if it was for them as much as it was for me. They had somebody else that they probably needed to play better against. But I thought they were the best team in our age group that we played. Mm-hmm. And so my whole focus was by the end of the year, I wanted to be able to beat them. I wish I had a chance playing with his A team there versus some of the guys that were missing because of vacations and stuff. But we beat them late in the season, so I'll take it. I'll take it. But I love being able to create that, and you can't create that with flipping teams every year.
It's tough.
You got to keep the same core guys so that they have that understanding and that feeling, because that's what happens when you're a Timberland team and you have to go through Howe. It's an instant rivalry, or Holt. It's instant. It's Holt and Timberland obviously makes sense, but You know, Howell is the monster. Fort Zumwalt West for a couple of years was that team that you had to beat that, you know, creates rivalry. So embrace that stuff. It's fun.
Embrace. And that, to me, I agree. It is fun. And I think we're missing some of that in our youth sports, I think, a little bit. Personally, you know, when you look at the 13U that are going to be 14U at the AA level, at the top, St. Louis Prospects, Coach Post's team, St. Louis Gamers is right there. They were 10-8-2. Missouri Redhawks, Coach James Ahern, the guy, he's right there. Eureka Eagles, and then the Prospects, then the Bears, Gamers Academy, PBA, St. Jen River Dogs, Midland Bandits. There's another one here in O'Fallon. You know, Jackson Squad. This is all.
Well, look at that.
13U AA.
Yeah, look at that Monarchs team though. That, you know, they're not ranked as high necessarily, but they were 15-2 in play, and they're
from Hannibal.
Right, small town team, right, and so you don't really have that. You know, they didn't play in a double points tournament or. You know, something of that nature, but a 15-2 record is obviously a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
You know, so they're going to go out and compete.
And I like that, and we're looking at, of course, Game 7's point standings here and whatnot. Midwest Glory out of Republic, Missouri was probably recruits, Coach Knott. You had the St. Louis Naturals as well in this mix. So Academy Phillies, St. Louis Naturals again, another Red Hawks squad, Rawlings Tigers. Another Minders, Midland Bandits squad, Arsenal, Rawlings, Midwest Rebels, Coach House. He had a solid team there. Saw them at the World Series. They had some good kids. MaxRep Bats, there it is, out of Florissant. Adidas Athletics, Coach Perry, St. Louis Grind right there. Mid-Mo Stars, Columbia, Missouri. So I think there's, you know, how are you developing those rivalries? How are you developing your squads? Continue to play, look towards high school. Love talking about the grind. MO Redhawks, Mo. I love that. MO Redhawks. Midwest Rebels, what else we have there? MaxRep Bats and Midwest Futures.
A lot of Midwest.
Big shout out.
A lot of M's.
Yeah, a lot of M's. Exactly.
Millions.
We're in the middle of the state, so, you know, M's might as well.
Millions.
Get her done.
Billions and billions of dollars.
Always fun, big dog. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters,
hit them over the fence. Hit them where they ain't.
Same thing.
Gaps. I mean, depending on your size, you know, if you don't have the muscle, you know, bunt it. Just hit it where they're not.
All of the above.
Over the fence.
We'll see you next time.
Dingers. That's what we do.